Oscar. Join me in welcoming Dr. Jaishankar with a very big round of applause.
Michael Jackson is a very tough act to follow. Ask Janet Jackson. So, respected Pro-Chancellor, respected Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, distinguished academic personalities, faculty, students, including international students, media. Let me really say how much I have looked forward to this visit. It's been a very busy morning, but everything that I've seen impresses me enormously. And as I keep saying, I think probably for the fourth or fifth time today, I wish I had the opportunity to be a student. I'm not sure there's a post-PhD course, but I'm willing to give it a try. So today, I would like to speak to you on a subject which I think is particularly important for the young people, not just of this country, but for the young people of the world. And that is the subject of India in Amrit Kal. So first, let me explain to you what that means. We have just marked 75 years of our independence. These 75 years have been years of considerable achievements, many challenges. Also, if you are honest, quite a few shortcomings. But all said and done, we have come through what was a very, very challenging phase of the post-independence period. As we reflect on that, we are now looking at a period ahead, a period which Prime Minister Modi has urged us to think of Amrit Kal, a period of 25 years, so that when this nation in its present form reaches a centenary of its independence, we can strive to be a developed nation, we can become a leading power. And the reason I picked that topic is that all of you students, these 25 years are your years to realize this dream. So, what I'm going to talk about in a way is what are our expectations of all of you. Now, what has made this possible? I believe because, it's the first time actually we are talking not just of a term in office of a government, of even a decade of progress or aspirations. We are talking a full generation and more. We are talking of an era. And we can talk today of an era because the achievements of the last decade have positioned us to do so. That this country actually has, and the last decade has been a very difficult one, and that's a subject on which I will also dilate upon. That the achievements of the last decade today have given us the platform to actually contemplate an era, to plan for an era, to strategize for an era, and obviously to aspire for very big goals on the centenary of our independence. So let me start with this decade itself. I don't know if some of you had a chance. If you have not, I would recommend it. To watch Prime Minister Modi yesterday at the India Today conclave. What he did was, instead of talking about 75 years, he said, I want you to think of the last 75 days. What have we achieved in 75 days? He said it, I don't want to repeat it, but I would really urge you to look at it. But I want to talk about the last decade And I'm talking about the last decade, not so much as a report card, but as an explanation of the platform which will allow us really to contemplate the Amrit Kal, the 25 years ahead of us. The first big achievement, I think, has been a dramatic reduction in the intensity and the rate and the extent of poverty in India. That this is not something anecdotal, though obviously all of us see it around us. It's validated by research and studies. But what we have seen actually is not just a decline in poverty at an unprecedented rate, but an increase, an enhancement in what we consider to be the basics that an Indian citizen should get. Now, a lot of that is reflected in the Human Development Indices, in the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals. And here, if you see the 17 Sustainable Development Goals have in the last decade been expressed in the form of national campaigns. National campaigns with which each one of you would be familiar in some form. You know, Swachh Bharat, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, Digital India, Startup India. Each of these, Jal Jeevan Mission, each of this is actually a national effort today to achieve what is a global goal by the end of this decade. And our progress will actually, in a way, be a determining factor for the world's success. And we have made commendable progress here. In fact, if you look at the scale of what we have achieved, many of our programs actually cover multiple times the population of a country. You know, during COVID, because a lot of people went home from their place of work, a lot of, especially people in the informal sector, were left without support. We took the extraordinary measure of providing food and financial support. Now, I don't know whether these figures are something which come readily to your mind, but just in case, I want you to understand it. 800 million people for the last 2.5 years have been getting food support. And this has actually been a key factor in dealing with the social consequences of the pandemic. 415 million people get money in their bank accounts. Just think about these numbers. 800 million means more than Europe and North America put together. 415 million is half the size of, well, a little less, 40% the size of Africa, but the size of Europe. Every program that we have done today, what used to be done in hundreds of thousands or even early millions today, we are looking at hundreds of millions. You know, there is today about, I would say, if you were to take the various pension benefits which are given, roughly 1/3 the country already draws pension in some form from the government. Any of these programs, you know, there is a program, again, many of you would be aware of, giving gas cylinders to replace firewood. The number of beneficiaries of this is the size of the population of Germany, 80 million people. If you look at, there's a program to build houses, it's called Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. 30 million people, 30 million houses have been built in the last few years. 30 million and a family size of 4.8, which is our average, is bigger than the population of Japan. So just think about it, the scale of what is happening in India today. We are at a per capita income of $2,000, actually creating a social welfare society. a society that feeds its people, a society which gives health access, including free health access today to more than half the population of India. A society whose literacy rates